Pushke I Imzaia I Eya Ekaraya. Greetings, fellowship, loved ones, dear ones. I am that I am, Lemuaya, of tachyonic service, if you will. It takes some time for me to adjust to the human language, but I will be there soon. The last time I spoke, the words I used were Lemurian words. I have spoken a great deal back in those days. It was a lovely time, a time of growth, a time of ever perpetual enhancement. It was beautiful to see how every one that called him herself an individual was on the planet for one purpose alone: to better everything around them. And so yesterday you have visited that which could metaphorically be called my home. You were in the Valley of Kings, weren't you? On Waipio Valley. Did you feel what was going on there? Did you feel the five elements blending together? The fifth of which, in this case, is mine, consciousness. And as you were in my home, as you were visiting my space, you were thrown back, all of you, including the channel. You were all thrown back into a state of mind. Well, this happens when emerging consciousness gets in touch with a manifestation of its own greatest potential. The existing mind can get pretty scary, pretty scared too. This is that which the dear Kutumi Lal Singh was talking about to you. Why do I call myself of tachyonic service? It is very simple. I am not part of this universe. I have never been part of this universe. I am that which you would call the tachyonic photonic layers of this universe. The translator, if you will, from that which is beyond energy to that which will become energy. For that is what tachyon does. You have all heard of tachyon fields. Now tachyon has the ability, and that is what you know here on Earth, to restore every type of energy and every type of matter to its most perfect state, its most authentic original state. But what most people don't know is that tachyonic energy, when combined with photonic energy, creates a portal. It creates a portal from that which is beyond time and space to that which is time and space. You see? And this is why you see us as dragons. This is why you watch us as dragons. For what else in the mythology of Earth is a dragon but an energy transporting one being from one place to the other? And we create our own set of elements. That is the fire that you oftentimes see. This is what we do. All the portals that you have witnessed, you have been to many in the past, all the portals carry their own specific type of tachyonic energy, and such their own specific dragon energy. Your mythologies have created us into a being that we are not. But if you were to see my body, metaphorically, for I have none, But if you were to see my body, then the cliffs that you saw in the Valley of Kings, metaphorically speaking, would be as big as my toe. I have quite some size, and I am not alone. You have quite some size too, especially when you link your complete energy into the time-space continuum. Now, to speak of my makeup would be to speak of all the portals of planet Earth, and actually all the portals throughout the universe. All of these, as I have said before, carry the dragon energy, and thus they carry the photonic, tachyonic energy. My body is based on bringing together all of these dragon energies. So the ones that you have listened to before, the ones called Shasaya, Taraya, Kamalaya, and Ranaya, of course, well, they are aspects of me. So you could say I am the keeper of all of these dragons, much in the same way as you are aspects of unity consciousness. I am the unity dragon consciousness, or the unity tachyonic consciousness. For yes, consciousness, for tachyons are alive, you see. That is how it is possible for tachyons, and this is the second aspect that not much people know about. Tachyon has the ability to slow down the highest vibrations into lower ones, so that they can materialize into matter. So you see, there is that which is beyond tachyon. It is an energy of which I cannot speak. It is an energy that is unpronounceable in your language, that you cannot even describe, for it has no beginning, middle, and an end. It is only when you get into the lower vibrations that you believe energy has a beginning and an end. So what tachyon does is a translation of that which is unspeakable, that which cannot be named, onto the photonic layer. So the tachyon layer is always on top of the photonic layer. You see this? And once you get to the photonic layer, another type of translation takes place, another slow down motion. Photons are then slowed down into electrons. What is the power of tachyon? That it doesn't answer the laws of time and space. Now, time you know, but space, you have no beginning of an idea what it means to be spaceless. You think you have one body, and that this one body is walking around here on Earth. From my standpoint, from my point of view, which is beyond the tachyon level, I can tell you that you can be at as many places as you wish to be on planet Earth, or at any other location in the universe at any given time. This is possible. It is even natural. How do you think it is possible otherwise for all of these energies, such as the Kutumi, such as Adamus Saint Germain, such as the Cryon, such as Ekara, and many, many others, to be all over the planet whenever they are called? It is because they are no longer bound by space, which is basically nothing more than a gravitational well. And what else is a gravitational well? You will remember this from, among others, the Assisians. A gravitational well is simply a way of pinpointing your consciousness on a time-space field. Thus, if you were to have no gravity around you, you would immediately lose that aspect of the illusion called space. Your consciousness is being pinned down into a body that then exists at one level of reality. You see? Now, I'm getting used to English. I quite prefer it, actually. Why would I be someone who is called forward to speak on behalf of free energy? A concept, by the way, that I think is amazing. It is an amazing concept that you have created here on planet Earth. Free energy. Now, what is so amazing about it? Energy has always been free. But to define the undefinable as something which is free, loving, and joyful is to enhance the non-definition. Maybe you will not understand this, but if you actually put a label on something, you will define it. But if you put a non-defined label on a non-defined energy, what you get is much more than just exponentials of this. You create energy within energy within energy, an endless cycle of energy within energy. And thus, the concept of free energy is based on the consciousness of humanity as a whole. It is an endeavor that I have not yet before witnessed, but I knew, of course I knew, that some would eventually arrive on the planet to do this. I have spoken to all of you in the past. For all of you, and several ones who will be listening at a later time, all of you have been part of the Lemurian experience. You have all been part of the Lemurian continent. You have all been on the planet at that point. And I was one of the caretakers of that time and that space. If you were to look at the Greek mythology, for instance, you would have called me an oracle at the time. Although Lemurians had much knowledge, it was much easier for me sometimes to see through the veils, to see everything that was going on at all levels. For the Lemurians, they did indeed work with tachyonic energy, but yet at the same time, it is still there is a difference between working with something and being something, you see? And that is why I was called upon so many different times. That is also why many a Lemurian king was laid to rest neath my feet in the Valley of the Kings. It was a beautiful experience each and every time when a Lemurian king decided to go back into the waters and to leave the planet at a place of refuge, that then all of his belongings, you see, or her belongings, which weren't much at the time, for you didn't need much, but all of your belongings which had been created from the earth were being put into the earth again. Take, for instance, a Lemurian needed a cup to drink from. What would he or she do? Go to a convenience store? No, of course not. The Lemurian would just use the element of earth, the energy behind that element, to create the cup. And so, as the Lemurian decided to go again, so would all those things that he or she had created in the past also be brought back into the earth, so that the whole was never taken from completely. Everything, and all of these things ended up back at my feet, burned to ashes, and then put back as energy into the earth. It was a beautiful time, and I know, personally I do know, that you will be able to restore all of these things and to make it happen once again. That is your beauty. That is why you are on the planet. And that is why I have always enjoyed working with all of you. Anyway, why am I being called forth to speak at this particular instance, this early in your supposed free energy class? It is very simple. I am now going to tell you the key to working with free energy, the key to using all of these exercises that will now come. I have told you that I am of tachyonic service. Free energy is based on something which you called the akenet, or the akeneic web. It is based on the akeneic cell within your own system. You might have missed it in the past, but when Adamus, for instance, spoke of the akeneic cell, he told you that there are no 8 billion akeneic cells, each for every person in this universe or on this earth. He said that there is just one. And that, my dear, means that your Akene is the same as hers, and as his, and as his, over there. It is the same. It is not one Akene, two Akene, three Akene, and so on. It is the very same. This is the nature of your holographic existence. The only thing in your bodies that is real is this akeneic cell. All the rest is part of the hologram. Now, how can this be? If you can follow me in this metaphor, then this would mean that basically there is just one cell, and it is projecting hundreds of thousands of images called individuals every single second, as hundreds of thousands are born and die and live and sleep, all coming from this one akeneic cell. Now, the akeneic cell is tachyonic in nature. Did you know that? The akeneic cell is that which is called divinity. It is beyond the planet. It is beyond the galaxy. And it is indeed beyond the universe. Just one for all of you. And as such, you must then realize that the akenet is basically a virtual network. What you must realize, and I know some have asked the question to work with this, but you must realize as you go into the akenet is that you are not transmitting or receiving anything. You are just going to the center of things. It would seem indeed, if two people were to undertake telepathy, or telepathy for instance, if you and you were to undertake it, that you would want to broadcast something to him, or back again if you wanted to receive something. This isn't truth. This isn't how it works. There is just one akeneic cell. Simply put, in a very easy to understand metaphor, it would be as if though a family of 3 or 4 people would have one notebook, and that the notebook would always be in a central position somewhere, let's say in the living room on a table. And if one of the family members wanted to communicate with the other one, all he would do or she would do is write something down in that notebook. And then the other person would find the notebook and would find the message. That is how you can see the akenet. It is a central space of existence which creates all of you in the illusion of form, in the illusion of exchange, because then you become separate. In the illusion of time, then you become linear. In the illusion of space, then you get a field of experience. In the illusion of death, for then it has a beginning, a middle and an end. And eventually in the illusion of separateness, so that you can go through all of these illusions that you set up for yourself. But there is just one, Akene. So all that the akenet does, really, is, how shall I put this? Transmit from your form onto itself that which is then taken up by the other. And this is a different way of thinking. For if you look at the internet today, the way it works is you want to send him an email. What you do is you type the email, you press send, it goes to a server somewhere, it goes to another server somewhere, and it ends up at him. This is not the way the Akene works. You are both broadcasting and receiving from the same signal that is in both of your bodies. And this is so very hard to understand, but science is slowly beginning to grasp this. This is the only way that you can work with free energy. Because you see, using the akenet, and this is another way to interpret free energy, doesn't cost you energy. It is sending something to within. Before, when this messenger here was getting ready for this meeting, there was someone still missing. And people didn't know where they were. So he used the akenet to find out. And what did he do? He just went to the senses of the other person by means of the akeneic cell. And what he saw were waves. So he saw that the person was all right and was out looking onto the ocean. It is that simple. You don't need to start opening your heart. Well, you always open your hearts, but you don't need to open your hearts to then scan the field in front of you, because the field in front of you is an illusion. Why would you want to scan an illusion if you can go to divinity, if you can go to something that is real? You see? Now the akeneic cell is real, and it is probably the only real thing in the universe. One cell. And this one cell is that which stems the Big Bang. It is from the reality that the virtual reality of this universe has been created. It was just like switching on a computer. A computer which then gives you information on a screen, but the things that you are seeing are generated. They are not real. This is the way the universe works. And the Akene, and thus the akeneic cell, is basically the focal point of it all. Another metaphor that comes to mind is very simple. You all know from fairs and stuff and shops these little electric balls of light, and you have this ball in your hand, and it's made of glass, and in the center there is a light. And this light is electrical in nature. So if you put your hand on it, the electricity will go to your hand. And if you let it go, you see the electricity go to all sides. You all know this image, don't you? Now, you all are the end of those little rays of light being projected onto a universe through the Akene. The Akene would be the akeneic cell, would be that which is in the center, which is generating the electricity and thus generating the little flashes of light you see. It's another metaphor, you can look at it. The only real thing in the universe, really. But you carry it within you. And that is important. For if you really start to understand this, then you know what tachyons are all about, especially when they are combined with photonic energy. It's this what they are all about. All you have to do, if you want to send someone a message, is to send it to yourself. That's all you have to do. It is within. If you wanted to see where someone is at any given time, use their senses from within. Go within, and you will know that there is a connection to the other person. And the beauty of this is that everybody carries this cell around, because everybody is partaking in the illusion. You don't need to be awakened to use the akeneic cell. Everybody does it all the time, for all life relies on this. So this would be the closest description that you have to God. And you are carrying that within. And that's the beauty of it. And such is the way of free energy. Free because it takes no time and no space to sense something, but also free because it is a part of your very existence. You are generating reality at any given point. The real beauty of this is that you now know that the only part of you that is real is this one akeneic cell, and that it is in everyone. So that actually everyone that you are looking at is really you. This was never a metaphor, it is real. It is like you would have this akeneic cell, and this projecting an image here, and this projecting an image to the other side. And what you are doing is you are looking from one point to the other, not understanding that you are both projections. You see? And you have all these things in your reality today. It is in your films, it is in your technology, it shows up everywhere. It is very simple. It is even so simple that you will have difficulty using it at first. And that's the cool thing about it. The simplicity of it all. The question, what is the secret of life? What is the meaning of life? Has thus been answered. And it is so simple that it will take you a while to get used to it and to actually work with it. All the exercises that you will do, all the free energy classes that you will have, will be based on that. Now, what is the mind then? The mind is the projection, thinking it is the projector. Do you understand this? This body, as you see, and some of you have seen, many energies come into this body from time to time. Why not? It is simply an illusion. That body, anybody, is basically just a projection of the same akeneic cell. So I said the mind is the projection believing it is the projector. And this is the illusion believing it is that which is the truth behind the illusion. But it isn't. And that is the mind. It acts as though it is a sovereign entity, and yet it is not. You must become quite aware of this. You must be really serious about this. For the mind, and some of you have seen this, the mind will trick you time and time and time again into believing that you are separate from all the others. In fact, most of the questions that I used to answer back in Lemuria were based on this. For as you are having a problem with it, so did the early Lemurians. The Lemurian race wasn't always the way it was when it ended, you see. At the very basis of it was a society that was much like your own. Much like your own. Until they started to become aware of certain principles. And this akeneic principle being the most basic of all. And that's when their society started changing. I can only implore you, Imzaia, not to get caught up in thought. And then we should have a discourse on thought. What is thought? It isn't just things coming into your brain. It is also the way that you expand that energy. It is the way that you portray it. This is also thought. You would think, for instance, that if you have a certain type of sarcasm, let's say, I have seen this happen with all of you, a certain type of sarcasm, and you think you are so funny. Yes, you think you are so funny, but you aren't. You are just thinking it, and you are having a lot of fun with yourself, because the mind likes to see examples of itself in action. It is, though, a very simple solution to think that the word think never fits anywhere in a sentence. That's why you see, if you are reasoning with someone, some type of mind, for instance, and this person will think he is funny, and you ask him this question, do you think you are funny? If this person answers yes, then you know you are speaking to mind, for consciousness doesn't think. You see? It never does. There doesn't need to be an in-between when consciousness is involved. The mind will always have to reflect back onto itself in order to know what it is doing. And this is unfortunate, for that is why the mind does not exist in tachyonic energy. You see? It cannot, for tachyonic energy is everywhere at any given point. So, if the mind were to be in tachyon energy, then it would also know that the other is itself. And it wouldn't be cruel to another. It wouldn't be negative towards another. It wouldn't even have negative thoughts. Consciousness never thinks bad about another person. It never thinks the other person is trying to hurt it. It never does any of those things. What it does is simple. It is in love, it is in joy, and it is in freedom. But as you are now progressing into these principles, a whole new world waiting for you, you must become aware of the fact that you will be tricked, and tricked again, 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 and tricked again. And for those who haven't turned off their display at this point because they believe that the sound recording is hampering or something, I will continue. You will be tricked again, and tricked again, and tricked again, and tricked again, and tricked again. Please don't think that you will escape from this. You will develop that which is known as the spiritual mind. And this spiritual mind will believe it is already inside of consciousness. It will make you believe this. It isn't so. Use others around you as they are reflections of yourself to make sure you do not get caught up in this. For this can become a cycle that is quite redundant. It doesn't have to be there. And now back to free energy, back to the tachyonic field. I, in the incarnation of Shasaya and Toraya and Kamalaya, have told you at one point in time that you have all of these levels, and that the lowest one would be called the field of experience. And underneath that, well, there would just be the residue And that is something that we are not going to talk about today. But above that is that which you would call the mind. Above that is, of course, that which you would call consciousness. And above that is the I am awareness. This is what Kuthumi has told you. Now, what some of you already know is that in between there, as you have said, there are layers. Layers of tachyonic photonic energy. Tachyonic photonic energy is basically that which is separating one reality from another. It separates realities, dimensions. It separates 1 minute from the next, because you have created the concept of a minute, 1 second from the other. It separates 1 moment from the other. It is simply some sort of in-between energy that is necessary for you to move from one field into the other. And then we come to a very interesting point. If we are in between all of these layers, that means that we can help you get from one layer to the other. As Imzaia has told you, you believe that we are more than you, but this is not so. We were created from consciousness. So we basically have our existence to thank from you. And that is why it is our highest calling to assist all of you in your journey upward, so to speak. It is the least that we can do, my friends. So, how are you going to do this? You have spoken about the light body, yes? The light body is basically a body that is made up of tachyons. For what else is light? Real geometric light than something which is present at all points of time and space at once. This is geometric light. The light of the sun takes somewhat longer. It is below the geometric field. But you will not become light bodies based on the light of the sun. You will become light bodies based on geometric energy. And geometric energy then again is based on tachyon energy. And this is how you will get to travel from one reality to the other. But heed this. When I am speaking of reality, when I am speaking of dimension, for instance, you think dimension is something that is just there. That you can go from 5D to 6D and from 6D to 3D and whatever. But it is much more than 12D. There is an infinite number of D. There is as much D as there is C. And with C, I mean consciousness. Units of consciousness. What are dimensions but your akenet cell creating your reality? And your akenet cell creating your reality. The same akenet cell creating both realities. So if you want to shift dimension, if you want to shift reality, you must be aware that these realities are also being created by the projections from the akenet cell. And again, this is one of the reasons why the akenet cell is based on tachyon information. I know I'm sounding quite difficult right now, and you do not need to understand all of this. I am just trying to activate certain principles within you. Principles that then will become part of your consciousness so that you can work with it. Consciousness wants to be practical. It doesn't want to be theoretical. For theory is a part of the brain. Consciousness is not part of the brain. I must tell you that there are several other things that I need to tell you before I go. The only thing is, I want to be careful in this, because you might feel very strange indeed if the complete truth is revealed to you again. So I am finding a way now to do that. If every person's reality is a dimension, then time and space populated by persons is also nothing more than a dimension. This is why the Akene and the akenaic cell is a potential for time travel. Now, when I'm speaking of potential for time travel, then of course I get very close to the essence of the tachyon. For the tachyon has the ability to make an electron, for instance, show up from one point of the universe at the other point of the universe, hundreds of thousands of kilometers apart, in the blink of an eye. It is just a projection of the illusion, no? It is that simple. If tachyons do this to electrons, and tachyons are drawn to electrons, and if you, my dears, are based on electrons going round the nucleus of your atom, what do you think happens when it is said that energy tends to raise itself naturally? What is an actual raise in vibration? What is this? It is just the attachment of tachyon energy to the rest of the body, to the electron of the cell. Raising your vibration, as Kutumi has said, is nothing more than becoming aware that you are everywhere at once. That is all. It is just knowing that you are the entire tapestry. Your mind was pointing a light, just a small laser light if you remember. The consciousness was pointing a flashlight. But the awareness is the sun stretching all over the tapestry. That sun, my dear children, is your own energy field. That sun is the light gathered from all of your electrons. And so we come to a new principle. Not just the akenaic cell is part of just one whole, creating all of you. The electrons are also there in a limited number. There is just enough electrons in the universe to create one star. Nothing more, nothing less. That's a lot of electrons. That's a lot of atoms that can form from that. But that means that there are electrons of you in her. And that again, they are the same ones. So even the projection that is being used is based on what you would call fractals, basically. This is the way the projection works. It is not about creating complete fullness of body. The universe is much more refined in that fashion. It will never use redundancy. The only thing that it must do is create a way of thinking that what you are seeing is complete. Much in the same way as your MP3 songs, it shows up in someone's head over there, much in the same way as an MP3 song, for instance, will not carry all of the fullness of the complete song that you could buy on a CD. Otherwise it would be too large to compress. So what does it do? An MP3 song just looks at the human ear and what the human ear can hear and reproduces that. So you have the illusion of a complete song. But actually, if you were to put the actual song on the CD and the MP3 song on your computer next to each other and analyze them, you would see that much of the information on the MP3 song is missing. For it is not necessary, for the senses do not need that much information. You, as a body, work in the same way. There is just enough matter present in your illusion of reality to create that which you see around you. And thus we come to a problem. You are sitting opposite me. I am looking out of my eyes now, my beautiful eyes. I'm looking at the beautiful you. So I'm seeing a field that is even less than 180 degrees. Actually, it's less than that. I am aware of the fact that there is just enough matter in my universe to create this. That means that behind me, what you are seeing, is not even present. You see, it doesn't exist for me. The universe does not like redundancy. So, what happens then? If you are looking at me and I am looking at you, there is a way, and this is one of the exercises that Ekara will do with you afterwards, once I'm done. There is a way, of course, to break through this, to see that this is indeed true, what I am saying. If we were to combine Akene cell energy, then you could see what I am seeing behind you, and I could see what you are seeing behind me. You see? So you will do exercises where you are put together back to back, and you combine this cell, and you can look 360 degrees around you. For it is all just illusion. It is just a combination of the genetic cell, which is in all of you, that will create this possibility. This is why the Lemurian, for instance, could see all throughout the galaxy. Why they did not need telescopes, why they did not need telephones, why they did not need all of this technology. It is, however, based on energology. Energology is a way towards the akenaic cell, and that is why it was discussed a long time ago during your Pleiadian and afterwards your Sirian and Orion principles in the Universal Manifest that you used at the time. So if all of these things are possible, then you know that there is a way to break the cycle, a way to break the illusion, a way to warp the mind. And it is simple. The mind has a limited set of things to work with. A limited set. It really does. It just has a limited set of electrons, a limited set of matter, and a limited set of potential. What it does not have is non-definition. That means it can never have an unlimited set of potential. Potention is breaking the cycle of the mind. If you have the ability to see what is potential based on mind thinking, based on fearful thoughts, like for instance, you would be walking on the ocean, just near the shore, and your mind would create fear inside of you, thinking that you might hit a rock or something, or hit a jellyfish and that it might hurt you, that it might sting you or something. This is a fearful creation. It generates a fearful potential that can materialize if you are not careful. What the mind cannot do is create positive potential, potentials that would enhance the whole. you see, potentials that would lead you to your akeneic cell. It cannot create this. So, what is potention then? It is the knowledge, the ability to create the exact opposite potential of the fearful one that you were in. It is a potential that will not be found in the mind. So it is a potential that comes from outside. And what will happen is that your consciousness will grasp that potential and pull it in through the magnetics that you have seen. It will pull it into your gravitational well. And as that comes in, basically there is one potential too many in your mind. So your hard drive is getting full. The two will not annihilate each other. A positive potential can never disappear, even if it is materialized. A positive potential will always continue to exist, because it can always be used for the next person. A fearful potential is personal, really. Once it is manifested, it no longer exists. A positive potential continues to exist, for it can be used, it is drawn to the akeneic cell, and hence it is available for everyone. That is also the basis of the akenet, as we were saying last time, as my brothers were saying, about the piece of music that could be generated and how could that then be transmitted onto the akenet. This is a potential of positivity. Now, if you create enough positive potentials to counter the negative ones, you get a field of tension called potention. It is tension that has not yet manifested, but it is a problem with manifestation. Ekara will talk more about this later on. Not today, probably tomorrow. Today he will give you some exercises to do. But tomorrow he will continue talking about this, and I will also continue to talk tomorrow. For there is a great much number of things I can tell you, and I need to tell you. But what you need to remember right now is the truth behind the akeneic cell, and how your senses, once they no longer go to the brain, but once they go to the akene, can help you in breaking the illusions that you see around you. Free energy can do anything, and that is where you are going to. You will have the ability to do anything. Now, with this ability, that is the last I shall say, with this ability comes great freedom. And with this freedom comes great responsibility. Ability and responsibility are linked. Responsibility is the way that you respond to your own ability. And if you respond in kindness, if you respond in strength, then you will see that the universe will be kind unto you. However, if you do not, I can tell you from my very heart that I am not just the keeper of dragon energy. I am also the keeper of truth. I am the keeper of freedom, the keeper of love, and the keeper of joy. And if someone were to misuse this energy, these informational things that I am now giving you, I have set it up in such a way that it will not work for negative creation, for creating downward spirals. As you have moved from free will into free energy, you will notice that free will, you were always talking about how it was interesting that you can go to the darkness to get to the light. Well, my children, understand this. You have grown up now. You should know not to go to the darkness. You should know it is unnecessary and indeed redundant to create negative patterns, to create downward spirals. And this truth, this knowing, is what actually is giving this earth the ability to go from free will to free energy. You see? Because humanity as a whole, once it starts using this, will no longer have the need to create negative spirals in their lives. Look very closely at yourselves. Look very closely at your lives. This is what happened to all of you, most of you, yesterday. And yes, it was partly a setup, so that you could see that you were to go to negativity automatically. If you are in that state, you are still in free will, where you can create the negative spirals. Free energy no longer, or at least free energy beings, no longer have the need to create the negative spirals. They always choose the consciousness. They always choose for awareness, always. And that is the fun part, at least for Ekara, and at least for Kutumi once he starts talking again, and at least for some of the others, and for me as well. That is the fun part about these free energy classes. I get to trigger you. I get to trigger you during the day. I get to trigger you during so many things in your lives. And it is always fun to see when your energy does go flat. Those who have had the chance to ride the dragon with me, and Kuan Yin, for instance, and the Jeshua, and several others, are people like that, are masters like that. They know I like to play in this respect, and they know how much fun it is to trigger someone, especially during a training or a free energy class, and to see how the mind kicks in and pulls you down. And then it takes some time for you to get up again, and you get all negative, and you get all sarcastic, and you get all, oh God, I want to quit this, I'm not a light worker, I'm done. Happens to so many, all the time. And every time I see one of my masters, one of my instructors, those such as the Kuan Yin and such as the Jeshua, do this to others, every single time the other goes down, we have fun. Because, you know, the last thing I will tell you is this: if that person goes down, there is someone, a type of energy that acts as a safety net, as a security blanket, and that is me. You will never fall too deep during these classes, but it will take trust, and it will take belief in yourself, your own ability, and the ability of the other to assist you. Because when you go down, you don't want to see that you're down. And if you see it, you even like it. You know, the mind, as I have seen happen to one of my students just the other day, the mind likes to be in illusion. It likes to be in it. It likes to be sarcastic. And you cannot break that spell. Unless. But I'm not going to tell you that yet. You will have to go first through all the triggers. But there comes a time, just like Kutumi and all the others, I never can stop talking. Once I'm here, I love it here too much. There comes a time, you see, my dear Lemurians, when there is a day, or a set of days, or a week, if you believe in those illusions, that you are triggered time and again, and not just by those guiding you, not just by those giving you these classes, but by the outside world. Comes a time when you are triggered, and when you will notice in your own behavioral pattern that you are not going down, that you are no longer going back to mind, that you stay in consciousness and just smile. And that is the day you and I will have a drink. You're paying. And so it is.